Hi, welcome to another episode of TakChek or PekChek.
I'm Rayron.
I'm Nicholas.
And together we are an education lifestyle podcast where each week we take a topic and we discuss it, and at the end of the day, we decide whether or not it is interesting, which is
TakChek,
or frustrating, which is
PekChek.
Okay, so for today's topic, recently, right, there was a bullying case where a number of secondary school students actually chased down one particular kid and then started beating him up. So I think there's going to be some form of disciplinary action that's going to be taken. But I think caning is not being ruled out here. And I think for today's topic, right, it is not so much of the bullying per se, okay, but I think we are here to discuss about what method of punishment is appropriate for a school setting. Maybe we can start off by remembering last time in our school days, our own personal experience.
Okay, I will admit first, I got punished in school before for wrongdoings. I am not afraid to say that is for, if anyone who said that didn't do this, I think that then good kids they're good kids. Okay, so the one and only punishment that I did recall was that I copied things here. So the person beside me, I'll just peer over to look at the things here. And this is not a personal victory, but the person whom I copy from scored worse than me at the end of it. Okay, so my punishment at that time, okay, so I was in primary 4. I entered primary school in 1995, so primary 4 is 1999, 1999. Alright, at that time. So my Chinese teacher at that time asked me to put my palm out, and she used the ruler to smack my palm. Alright, so I think that whole gesture to me was not so much of that pain. I mean, there was still that sting at that moment, but it's just the venue of execution was done in front of all of my classmates. So I think that was hugely the element of shame that I come across at that. So that was my most memorable punishment.
Nowadays, this kind of thing won't fly already. I think. The school teacher will not be able to fly.
You can't. Right. What about yourself? Any personal experience from...
I think you know that my own experience with education has not been a smooth one lah.
So you got kena punished before?
I kena a lot of times before.
Okay.
So I think one of the memorable ones, and this one I really feel that I was maligned lah. So when I was in primary school, my school teacher, you know, when you're in primary school, everybody sits on the floor. So the school teacher asked us to pronounce a certain word. I can't even remember what this word was.
Okay.
And my primary school teacher sort of heard the whole class pronouncing it wrongly.
Okay.
And she said, one more time, if any of you pronounce this word wrongly, I'm going to put the chalk in your mouth. You know, last time when we were in primary school, small blackboard with the chalk, right? So I'm going to put the chalk in your mouth. So for some reason, and I pride myself on my English lah. I know some people say our English like not so good, right? But I pride myself on my English, and I know if I want to speak good English, I can. Okay. I just code switch. But anyway, I remember that particular English teacher, she, for some reason, she thought that I was the one who was pronouncing it wrongly. And so she put the chalk in my mouth.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I was made to hold the chalk there in my mouth for like maybe 5 to 10 minutes.
Inside your mouth?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like she put the chalk in my mouth,
that's not
for 5 to 10 minutes. That will not fly. My mother, of course, was not very happy, and then she complained to the school. So after that, the teacher was not very happy that she got complained against, and then she said, she publicly told the whole class like, oh, if you have any problem, you don't go straight to the school teacher. So you don't go straight to the principal, you go straight to me. Alright, she kept throwing shit at me. Okay. So during class, I think that was one of the most memorable. Yeah.
But building up itself, I think for me is the epitome of punishment is going to be the public cleaning.
Public cleaning, yes.
I seen it before.
Yes.
And I felt like that the gravitas of the entire situation was that everyone was summoned to the school hall. So some of us was really delighted because can skip class. I was like, cancel class, I'll go school. So, you know, we queue up, we go to school hall. So it was rather jarring when I see my schoolmate. Now, I don't have any personal relationship with the boy that got caned, all right? But he got caned because he was caught smoking. And this is primary school. This is primary... What? I was primary 5, but the boy was primary 6. Right.
Okay.
So I'm not sure, was he a primary 6 or was he a primary 7? I'm not sure about that because of the repeat thing. So he was summoned up to the stage. Then my principal was a very stern man. All right. And the VP was a pretty nice lady, but she put on a very stern face. And the DM escorted the boy up. So this seems like a public execution like that. Alright? And the whole entire process have the principal giving a sort of speech to say so and so did what and what, and therefore the punishment is caning. So that this wasn't even like an arbitrary whereby you can like object on this. Everyone was just there to witness. And in very surgical precision, he put I actually recall my school jotter book. School jotter book into the underneath the guy's back, so just between his shirt and his pants lah. Alright, and that is to protect his spine in case that they misfire. Right, and in one swift stroke, you can hear, because the whole hall was quiet. One swift stroke, you heard a pop. So I don't know, was it because it hit the jotter book, or was because that the stroke was, you know,
like very hard. Yeah.
So the boy, I recall, he didn't even wince. He didn't even like flinch. He was just there with his buttock facing the crowd like, when they was executing the.
But he didn't like reveal his buttock, right? It's just
no revelation of the buttock.
Just over the clothes.
Correct. But the buttock itself, because he was asked to bend forward, so you can see that the buttock is pressed onto the trousers. Then plus the jotter book, you can see the huge outline over there. So the whack came down.
Do you think it would be pain actually? Like, because over clothes, I get the feeling that it's not that pain.
Okay, at that moment, I think what was more painful for me was the sound that came out. Like, shook. You know, they hear that sound. Yeah, and it didn't help that the principal was meting out the punishment before he whacked. He do a few test stroke first. You hear the so everyone was scared. All right.
So psychologically, it served its purpose lah. So even if it didn't hurt the boy itself, like it served to scare the rest of the cohort.
Yes. So I think in this case, I think there's a Chinese idiom with it, but I don't want to butcher it. But it's more of okay, I cannot remember, but you just scare one and then you deter the rest. It's a particular Chinese idiom. Maybe we can edit it into the podcast later if the word comes across. What about yourself? Any public caning that you have, not that you got caned, but you experienced someone?
I have experience. I believe this was also in primary school. I think this was when I was, I think P5 or P6 as well. So one kid got caught stealing.
P5, P6, okay.
Yeah, so because he got caught stealing, he got publicly caned. I simply remember it's not as, it doesn't seem as tense as what you described. But I do feel that, it's just an incident. I remember going down to the hall to get the kid.
But what have he stolen?
I cannot remember.
Okay.
To this day, I can't remember. I remember the guy's name and face though.
You were his level or?
Yes, same level. So I remember that kid's name and face because he was pretty infamous even before the public caning. And he's not a underprivileged sort of kid. He's a pretty intelligent kid. He was like in one of the EM1 classes, I think.
Alright.
Yeah.
Alright.
So this was quite surprising, but
So the reason why I think looking through at all our past experiences, I think several of these phrases like, this is not going to fly with today's age. I think it's because generally the parents are more woke lah. I mean, and
yes.
And also there are more outlet for the parents to vent their frustration if, let's say, they felt that the punishment method was unfair. So you mentioned just now that 2025, which was very recent, the whole Montfort bullying cases over here. But if we look back a little bit, right, in November 2002, for some of the more iconic cases that actually make it to public domain, will be several male students from Singapore Sports School who created deepfake nude photos of their female classmates, and then they distributed it. Yeah, so they were subjected to disciplinary actions, and this was confirmed that caning was one of them. Right? I think the parents and the viewers out there will probably know what's a deepfake, but in short, they will splice your face onto other bodies that are doing undesirable acts, right? To create an illusion that you are the one that's doing all the stuff. So if I move back, all right, in the 2022, all right, one of the other more highlighted case is that a St. Andrews student actually stormed in, all right, or should I say confronted one of the staff member. I'm not sure, was it the teacher, was it just like staff room member, and said to threaten to quote unquote end that member's life. Right, so I think this is a verbal threat. So he was disciplined. 2019 itself, that's I think where this will help in the conversation for today. Parents actually made a police report after realizing that the son got caned in school. But let's talk about this. All right, they always say in Chinese, 你打狗要看主人的. If you want to whack the child, you better make sure that the parent
is informed.
You don't whack and then you inform. I think it becomes very much of the I will only say sorry only because I got caught kind of a situation. So in your experiences, the whole process here, it should have been parents informed before. But was the school perhaps not intending to get the parents looped in because they don't want to give the parents the illusion of saying that, no, I don't want this punishment to be done?
I doubt so. I highly doubt so, because schools do have a higher responsibility to the parents, okay, and schools do have a higher amount of accountability to the parents. So I highly doubt it'd be a case where the school wanted to cover up. So maybe this was a case of the errant teacher doing caning the particular student.
All right.
Yeah.
We're not very sure was
But
this,
yeah, we don't want to speculate.
over
Yes.
here, but I felt like even without deep diving into this, parents should have been informed before you hit the
you do
kid.
any physical thing to the student. Right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. All right, but really just for the listeners, I think everyone needs to know that caning is not the one and only solution to end it all. There's actually a building up. All right, depending on the severity of the wrongdoing, different kinds of punishment could be meted out from there.
Yeah.
So maybe we're going to walk us through what are some of the punishment it used in school.
Some schools, okay, have some demerit point system where after you clock a certain number of points, they will be caned. Okay, but caning, of course, that's the ultimate, like, it's the so-called capital punishment of the school, right? So some other things that the schools may consider doing is we cut the playtime or recess time, verbal or written warning, okay, for minor offenses, right? We have sending the kid to counseling. All right, we have sending the kid down to detention, okay, suspension from school. We have a corrective work order where the school essentially tells the student to clean up the school, right? And we also have finally a corporal punishment. And of course, just now I said that corporal punishment or caning is the like capital punishment, right? Actually, that's not the worst. The worst is essentially expulsion.
Expulsion.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe we run through each of the category first.
Yeah.
All right. So building up, we have cutting playtime during recess and verbal or written warning.
Yes.
So in my primary school days, I have the demerit point system.
Yes.
All right. So each of us are given a small little booklet, and I think back in those days they give us two stickers: the green stickers or the red stickers. So green stickers, so there's positive reinforcement. If you're good, you get something. But they coupled it with negative reinforcement. If you accumulate sufficient pink stickers, you will also get something from that. So I personally feel that giving a verbal or written warning is generally fine, but cutting playtime during recess, we have to be a little bit more technical here. Like recess is really a means for the child. For my information is that they will go to the canteen to eat. Right, to eat. So if you were to cut the time into the recess, like you have to get food, you have to gobble down your food, then will the kid just not eat? And then they will be hungry.
Then they'll be hungry, right?
Yeah. So I was a little bit worried about this. But I feel in this day and age, not letting the child eat is not a heavy deterrence. Because it's like, okay lor, I go hungry lor, so what I was still going to do.
But some parents may complain, if I were concerned about my child's well-being, if they are hungry for the day, of course, some parents may be a little bit more particular about this and they may complain to the school like, hey, why you starve my kid?
So do you feel this kind of punishment still fly in this current age?
I think schools will have to exercise this with caution. If I were the school teacher or if I were the school principal, I will at least allocate maybe 10 minutes for the kid to faster go and buy like food.
Okay.
Right, and eat it.
But this is like trying to target a kid, or should I say target a basic human need, which is food.
Food, yes.
So you're using starvation as a deterrence.
Yes. I think the true deterrent here is cutting the kids' playtime. Right?
But so you don't go to recess to play per se, you know.
Or my son
will go to recess
to play.
Okay.
Right. I mean, in primary school, this is what matters.
Because I was thinking that maybe a modification was this, is that you are barred from entering the school playground. You can still get eat, but you are barred from entering. So the prefect.
But I think the idea here is that the school teacher wants to give the kid something that they don't want to do. So for myself, actually I experienced this before. Not exactly during recess, but when I was in secondary school, sometimes when we don't do like our homework or never do anything properly, right? This Chinese teacher, it's always the Chinese teacher, right?
Okay, right. I will concur. Yeah,
it's always the Chinese teacher. I think the Chinese teachers are a little bit more old school and more willing to give out punishments, right? So there was this Chinese teacher who would used to hold me back after school.
Okay.
So it's not exactly during recess, but she prevent me from
leaving
the school. So she insists that I will stay back and then copy out, like the textbook.
Okay.
And but copy not just one time, it's like two times, 3 times.
I felt that impact is worse than recess detention. because you cannot go home to play.
Yes.
You are forced to stay back.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, but then this one is also worrisome because the parents will then have to make arrangement like, oh, if let's say you're being chauffeured or someone's coming to pick you up,
yes,
your whole day schedule is going to be.
So this is secondary school already lah. So secondary school generally, we have means to contact our parents.
Yeah.
I think when I was Sec 2, we still have like pay phones. We can call, right? So there is means to contact the parents, I think, in such a situation. But I'm not so sure about primary school because primary school is a little bit more time sensitive.
Yep.
If let's say you need to stay back in school, then I think you might miss the school bus.
Yes.
Or you might miss certain like key times to meet lah.
So the next level of punishment, I wouldn't really call this a punishment, but it feels like more corrective, is counselling. Okay, I will be the first to say, okay, I dislike the term counselling, right? Not because that I think that counsellors are not doing their due diligence and job, but I felt like it's an umbrella word. Like, how do you counsel someone? Are you going to ask them to do reflection? Right? Some of my students who are having trouble in school, they are being counselled. So me asking them, they say, oh, I was usually asked to write reflection of what led to what I did and what I will do to prevent this from happening. It feels like a very self-reflective kind of thing, at least from what I'm hearing from them. So counselling, based on that, is usually to listen to the student's circumstances. I think that's where the reflective comes from that. And getting a student to fix a problem that they cause and work out how to prevent further of this recurring actions. So what do you think counselling at students' age, and I'm talking about maybe like primary 1 all the way up to JC2, because that's their academic life, do you think counselling is going to work for the very young kids? Like P3, P4, they are caught doing something, and you're going to counsel them? Like,
maybe, because if let's say the situation is recurrent and it happens often enough, I think it might need some counselling. And I believe that the counsellors should also be trained. Like, it can't be any abeng to counsel the kids. So these are properly trained in at giving proper advice to the students and helping the kids manage and equipping the kids with tools to help them manage their own impulses.
So Minister Chan did mention before that there will be para-counsellors. So teachers who are teachers themselves, that's their main job, but they are also trained in counselling. I personally feel that this job shouldn't be sort of like a add-on.
Side.
Yes, because I think the teachers, I was trying to empathize with some of my peers who are actually teachers themselves. They're really quite bogged down with a lot of the administrative stuff. So can you imagine that you're one of the appointed para-counsellors and then you got press button, you need to counsel someone. I feel that counselling is a very gradual process. You don't come in, I ask, you say. I think it will take a while for you to crack that person up, for you to know the crux of what's the issue before you start to deliver very succinct and very well-given advice, and not just the run-after-me advice, oh, don't do this is bad.
So you feel that there should be proper trained like therapists and
counsellors,
counsellors to help out these kids lah. But I think then it becomes a logistics and manpower issue, right? How do you ensure that the counsellor or the therapist is just stationed at the school when you need them, without wasting that particular therapist or counselor's time? Because it's not like every day where you need to send somebody over to the therapist, when he could actually be somewhere else helping other people.
Yes. So I think there is a lot of one, but I feel that professional counselors should be the one that is dishing out. And sometimes a little bit comical here is that the person that's counselling you is actually the victim of your action. So let's say you were fierce to said teacher, then you sway that teacher is the para-counsellor. Then it's a little bit funny as well.
So when I was in secondary school, we used to have we used to call him the pastoral care guide. So this pastoral care guide will also function as the counsellor. And I think he used to be religiously associated. So I'm not too sure, I as a parent am comfortable with somebody with a religious association being in the school and providing this kind of guidance. So this one, I think,
but I feel that counselling,
it should be secular, right? It shouldn't.
I feel that you shouldn't bring in religion to counsel someone, especially if let's say the counsellor faith as well as the student faith is different,
right?
Or what if the student is actually I won't say atheist but just doesn't believe in God or religion. Then you start to shove religion down to say that God wouldn't want you to.
But I think very often these vendors who do provide like counselors to the schools, they are sometimes religiously affiliated.
Yes.
As well. So I think this again is a logistic problem that I think the schools may have to look into to resolve.
But I feel that now as we go up the levels, the punishment now becomes less corrective, but becomes more
deterrent. Right?
Yeah. So we have detention. All right, I'm just going to lump detention and suspension as a whole, because I think the general idea of detention and suspension is that you are going to miss out on the school's activity. All right. So detention wise, I feel it could be a tool that is used because they're still under the school system, but you have them go for detention after school. So I think they're still not allowed to go. So it's a little bit like your Chinese teacher don't let you go home after that. So I think that's semi-detention by itself.
Yeah, we never had a detention system officially in our schools or my schools. But I do hear of students being asked to go for this. My own students being asked to go for detention. And to me, detention always seemed like, okay, I stay back, what's the cost to me? I just stay back.
Yep.
So for myself and the Chinese teacher, example, right? I actually have to do something which I don't want, which is not exactly productive. I have to do something which I don't want, which is like copy the textbook, But I don't know how often in detention do you do something uncomfortable, or is it you just stay in the room for nothing?
So I am going to correct the statement that I given out at the start of the podcast. I just recalled that I got detention before.
Oh,
okay. So the goody two shoe here got detention, but I need to explain. Okay?
Yes.
So I was in secondary 4. Okay.
Okay.
I think I deserve more than detention actually. So it was the day before we closed the school for study break. Leading up to O-level. I remember, tell me if I'm wrong, like leading up to O-level, usually there's like 1 or 2 weeks study break, you don't need to go to school after that.
Yes.
So it was the final one already. So me and my male friends, all right, the female are usually the very good girls, all right. We were telling each other that, hey, bro, this is the last time we are in the school already. Do you want to do anything crazy or not? All right, and mind you, I was a counselor then, so this is even worse. So I don't know what came into me. I was a rather compliant person, but one of the classmates suggested that, hey, all the extinguisher along the corridor, do you think it works? So I was like, I think it works lah. So he went out. So there's 5 of us. He pulled the pin of the extinguisher.
And then
he
just
sprayed.
press.
Okay, so I don't know what gotten into me. All right, but I was like, can you spray the extinguisher in my direction? So I wanted to taste. Because there's calcium-based compound inside, all right. If I'm not wrong, it's calcium carbonate, which is a flame retardant. So he sprayed into my mouth. There was this very sour foam, and then the whole thing I was like clouded in this white color thing. And then suddenly, I think all the other 4 boys, right, are positively reinforced with whatever he's doing. We all grab a random extinguisher. We have an extinguisher. And I recall my DM came. All right, my DM was also my English teacher. She threw us into detention. Yeah, and I think that the punishment for detention for us like that, I think it wasn't.
It's too lenient already,
too lenient, right? So what makes it worse was that we sprayed in her direction when she came also.
Did she kena?
She kena. So like it was very out of character. So for me, because I was a counselor, right?
Yeah.
I got double the detention.
Okay.
Yeah. So you know what's the funny thing? I went back because it was the last day of school already. I had to serve up my detention during the study break.
Ayo.
So I came back for the detention itself.
Okay.
But I felt like that I deserve it.
Okay.
Yeah, I deserve it. But seldom will there be students who go to detention and say, I deserve it. It's like, wow, you're making me stay beyond my will.
Yes.
But detention, like I say...
What do you do during the detention?
Okay, number one, the weird part of the detention is that to attend detention, you have to take off your shoes and socks.
Okay,
remember those were the days that there's no like handphone and everything.
Yeah.
So the reason is because the DM, which is a lady, didn't want us to escape detention. Like you just run out of school.
Okay.
Shoes and socks are checked into a locker.
Okay.
Stupid, right? But yeah, that was at the time. And I was forced, I wouldn't say forced, but I was given a choice in my detention of studying for O-level because it's upcoming 2 weeks time, or I can just write a reflective essay.
Okay.
But my DM very gently nudged me to write a reflective essay because she was my English teacher. She said now's a good time to practice her English as well. And English is usually the first paper for O-levels as well.
Okay, yes.
So I was given a choice. So my concern here is like for modern age detention, are you just holding them in a place?
A holding room, right?
Yeah, a holding room. Are you letting them do anything, or I feel that it's actually easier for them to do something than you telling them you cannot do anything and you just stare at the 4 walls for hours. It's like solitary confinement like that. Yeah. But when I say detention, you're still in school. Alright, the teachers can still jaga you. But what about suspension? Suspension, I feel that is the worrisome one.
Yes.
Alright, there are 2 camps of people. Students, there's the in-house suspension and the home suspension. Let's just talk about the home suspension, which is I think is the one that's more nuclear, because there's 2 camps of people who say that, hey, don't need to go to school.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Then if I'm already someone that is from a very troubled background and I have people of colourful influence outside of school. Not
Then I
that
can just go out and then meet all these people, right?
giving me a green ticket,
green card to go and
I can do whatever you want. But if you're someone that and that's when the school has to come in to be the one that's taking care of them. Don't let them have suspension at home. So my concern here is that while giving suspension, does the school consider the background of the students before deciding is it an in-house suspension or is it a home suspension? Yeah. You do not want them to give them like a green ticket to further reinforce their bad behaviors. So have you anyone that went for suspension before? You know of any students or?
Okay, to be honest, I have been suspended before.
I see all the things start to lick
I have been suspended before.
Secondary.
Yes, in the school.
But it's an in-house suspension.
It's an in-house suspension.
Okay, how does that work? You still report to get suspended.
I think I personally feel that I did not deserve this.
Okay.
It's just that I think there was a teacher that complained that my class was particularly difficult to deal with.
Okay.
And I think my class was particularly difficult to deal with, and my class didn't submit their homework very often. So I think the principal was looking for like a scapegoat to make an example of. So turns out that I was the scapegoat. And then, I mean, I admit, yes, I didn't do my homework. Like,
you remember the subject we are talking about? Math.
Okay. So I didn't do my homework, and it was quite a while. I didn't do my homework for quite a while. But I don't know. Do you feel that do you feel that being suspended for not doing homework is something which is commensurate? Is the punishment commensurate to?
No. Okay, but prior to this, was there leading up to this punishment, or was this like you press a button, suspended? Because did the teacher actually go up the rungs of the ladder of punishment? I will ask you to go.
I feel that it was just a press button thing, like because I didn't see it coming.
Okay, but I felt like that will be unfair, even at those time.
I think the principal again wanted to make an example of somebody, and she has to do something to someone, right? Okay. So she singled me out.
Why you draw lots and then you drew?
I don't know. I think it so happened that I can't really remember the circumstances.
But that was secondary.
This is Sec 4.
Okay. Yeah. But not near to O level at that time.
I remember it was around July, maybe.
Quite near.
Quite near. Okay. But so I was suspended. Actually, I was suspended at home for 1 or 2 days, and then after that, I was suspended in the school.
Okay, so that was 1 or 2 days. So there was a home and an in-house suspension.
Yeah, but personally, I feel that this was, to me, it was unjustified because I don't feel that not doing homework really requires a suspension.
Okay, so why not? I give you this scenario, then you tell me is suspension a better option than yours, which is not doing work and you get suspended. What if the student poses a certain threat to the immediate surrounding?
Yeah, then I think that this is really like you need to remove the student from the equation.
But to put an in-house suspension or to put it as a home suspension?
To be honest, personally, I feel that in-house suspension or in-school suspension is a more safe option. Yeah. So maybe you just hold the kid in the sick bay. How often will a school actually, I mean in Singapore schools, how often will you actually have a student that actually requires suspension? It's not like you're going to have a whole class full of students, right? So if it's just 1 or 2 people, just holding them in the sick bay or the general office, I think should be fine.
I mentioned this because I have students, this 6th student is secondary 4 this year.
Yes.
Right. She came to me and she mentioned that there was a particularly disruptive student in her class. Right. And what this student goes around is, in the absence of the teacher, she will go around and peddle illegal devices to her friends. Okay. So I'm not going to mention what's the illegal device. I'll leave it to the interpretation of everyone. But there were people who supported her in her industrial
in
kind
her
of
business.
spirit. Yeah. Yes. So what happened was that it is considered to be a very rash behavior of someone, because the teacher did find out that she was selling illegal stuff. Yeah. So they didn't turn her over to the police yet, but decided to pursue suspension to dissuade her from this behavior itself from that. So I feel like for the case of suspension, it's a little bit weird to me, because I think that suspension and detention has a lot of overlap. So when you suspend someone, do they report to school and go straight to the suspension area?
Yes.
But detention is like a portion of the day you take it up and you detain that person.
So that was my suspension experience, where basically I just went to school and then they just helped me that one room. Yeah. for the whole school day.
If both of us go back towards our secondary school days, I felt like at that time we have no phones, we have no social media. All right, and if you suspend me, I felt like the main torture that is what I'm going to feel is that I'm not going to be with my friends. I feel paiseh. I kena, people will say that, oh, this kid kena suspended. I feel paiseh. So I have social awareness. But I feel like in today's day and age, I can connect my friends through phone, social media. I mean, sure, suspension you can take away the phone, but you're not going to suspend them and keep them in school for 24 hours. Like eventually, I can still connect my peers. So I feel like suspension has more of a tool of removing aggression in students who are doing rash behavior, but in terms of deterring them from doing the same behavior again, and that is through isolating them from their friends, I think it doesn't work so well. I feel. So the next level we go up, right? There is corrective work order, which is having them clean up school. I feel that this is also not something worthwhile to explore now because I'm just going to don on the green vest and go around.
Yeah, but I think the main idea here is that it's humiliating.
Yes. But perhaps the most humiliating one here is going to be caning, which is the apex of today's punishment that we're talking about. So for caning itself, I think this is something I really want to talk a lot more. Let's use some of the legislation. So caning is a form of corporal punishment in Singapore schools. It's legally permitted under Regulation 88 of the Education Schools Regulation. So caning in school is carried out as an educative and disciplinary measure for serious offence committed by mere student. Alright? And when other corrective actions have already been exhausted. Alright, so quote unquote, some of the more serious cases will be including cyberbullying, theft, vandalism, cheating examination, smoking, as well as participating in fights in and out of school. It's always the last resort and only for serious offences. So recall just now I mentioned about the deepfake. That case actually involved caning. So just a very curious question: why girl won't gonna cane? They cannot be naughty, meh?
I think
it's not fair.
I think this one is the schools taking leave from the Singapore judicial system because I believe female inmates cannot be caned. So I think this one is also trickle down policy. Do
you think it's biological in nature?
This one I have no idea, but to me I don't think so. Okay. If guys can be caned, I think girls can be caned as well.
As a biologist over here, I would say that it's a little bit more sensitive because where the female reproductive organs are is tucked in the abdomen area.
Yeah.
Alright, and if you're delivering the stroke from the back itself, I think the misfire. Okay, let's put it in technical terms. I think the chance of it's very low chance to get misfired. But if there's really a misfire in terms of the stroke execution and the trajectory, it's technically more likely to hit the gentleman's scrotum than the female ovary.
Okay.
Which makes me curious. Like, then this is also, if this is about fertility protection and all, then what if the guy gets barren?
But this is coming from the fact that some people in the online space suspect that it's due to fertility issue, right? Yeah. But I think this might be more relevant in the actual prison inmates they kena cane. But I feel that this for the small scale cane, right? I don't think it's that relevant lah.
Okay. But do you think that caning right now in today's age, should it be private or should it be public?
I feel that it should be mainly in the private space.
Okay.
I think.
But where's the humiliation factor? That was the original intention.
I feel that instead of humiliation, right, I think it may go the opposite way. Can you imagine if let's say you got public caning, right? Then if let's say you have some people they are secretly filming on like TikTok live or Facebook live, I know nowadays people don't use Facebook anymore, but Instagram or whatever, and then they post it on social media, right? Then instead of humiliating this particular person,
you glorify them.
Yeah, you glorify this particular person.
They become the hero.
And they become a hero. Like, I feel that this is...
So it's a badge of honor. I got
cane. I got cane, and I know that technically you're not supposed to be glorifying this, but some people say like, oh, okay, this kid is a badass. This kid got chops.
So his street cred went up.
His street cred went up. So I think that in this day and age, I personally feel that corporal punishment, or at least caning should be restricted to the private space instead.
Okay, but what if it's in a private general office, alright, and I put a PA system. Okay, so and so is gonna get whacked at this moment. That's also glorifying that kid already, right? Because you say his name out and everything.
I think it's not as bad as
public.
Okay.
Okay, but something that I feel after that is I slapped you already, right? Then now I still kind of care for you. I felt that it's a very difficult Uno reversal because based off what we have learned that after caning, the counselor, the DM, discipline master, and the teachers will continue to engage the child from time to time, asking them how they are and what they have learned from the experience. I slap you, then I ask you what you learned. But I feel that this Uno reversal is a bit like psychotic.
I mean, at the end of the day, punishment is meant to be corrective. Punishment is also meant to be corrective. So the caning serves a deterrent purpose, but I feel that this reflection, the asking, the interviewing, the counseling sessions, all of that is the corrective aspect. So I think the caning, like if let's say you put it out there as a deterrent, like you must do what. Like you cannot say that if it's in the school rules, like if you say that if you smoke, you're going to get caned, then you actually catch a person smoking, then
you have to cane.
You have to cane.
Or else this becomes like a floodgate of why is there exception to the rule itself.
Yes.
So actually for today's discussion about kids wrongdoing in school, we have to talk about this. I feel whatever I'm going to bring up next, it will rattle some feathers. And I think the kids will only spend 1/3 of their daily hours in school in most cases. So whatever that they are doing on the outside, the other 2/3, the remaining 16 hours and so, who they're interacting with, how long they're interacting with, there must be a second level of policing. Right? So I have to bring this in, which is parents' involvement. Okay? And parental involvement here is a very touchy topic because most of the kids that I know nowadays, their parents are dual income parents. Right? If you're younger, you probably have a domestic helper, you're probably with your paternal or maternal grandparents. Yeah, but as you get older to Sec 3 and Sec 4, there's usually a prolonged period of time that the kid is without supervision. And what makes it even more important is also the socio-economic background. So generally, if you are going to be a little bit more well-to-do, you have many avenues of feel safe. I have this person will be looking after you, doing this to you, shuffling you up and down from tuition to tuition, if let's say that's the case. But if you are just middle income or even near the poverty line as well, you have to do it yourself. And if kids are going to commute independently themselves, what's there to say that they might veer from the route of commuting to go and do something else from there? So that is one thing that I feel that if the school is going to meet out the punishment, I think that there should be more corrective form of intervention at the start. Meaning to say that it is healthier, all right, if let's say before the schools, they are definitely given all this guideline, but could they have investigated, try to understand the student's background a little bit more, trying to understand the student's family situation a little bit more?
I think if the problem is often enough, if the problem is severe enough and recurrent enough, then I think the schools definitely will raise some flags be it to social workers or social care organizations to sort of suss out whether or not this kid really is okay at home. I do believe that there should be some sort of program within the school to flag out these.
So this is still a very tripartite kind of relationship between parents, students, and teachers, right? So I have hearsay of mention saying that the teachers told the parents, "Your kid always falls asleep in class." Then the parents, a little bit savage, rebutted and say, "Then it's your problem. You never make it interesting enough. That's why my kid falls asleep in class." But then the teachers will fire another volley, maybe in their mind they don't say, is that, then why don't you ensure that your kid actually sleep early the day before so that they are not tired in class? So I feel like there are both sides of the story. The teachers engage in school, but the parents have to regulate at home. Because at the end of the day, it's the kids that we are trying to serve, to help them, from there. So, what do you think of today, the whole punishment landscape?
I think punishment is always a tricky thing. For myself as a teacher, like in tuition classes also. So in tuition classes, because we are a professional setting, it is even more restrictive, I feel, than in the school. So personally, I feel that when it comes to different means of discipline, right, I feel that this is going to be quite difficult, and I have to call upon my creative juices to decide what is appropriate punishment so that we won't get complained by parents, So for me personally, I feel that this is a very PekChek thing.
It's a very PekChek thing. I just want to maybe just dwell on whatever you mentioned. I think whether it's in school, whether it's in a private setting like tuition, I feel very strongly that it is what do the educators want to achieve through the medium of punishment.
Yes.
So I sincerely feel that it should never be to humiliate, but I feel it should be to deter others that this behavior is not good, and also to prevent the student from recommitting such offenses. All right, but these are big words, but on reality, at that moment you need to execute it. I think it calls on years and years of experience. And
But
also,
punishment should always be done mindfully. It
Yes.
shouldn't be done out of anger or
Yes.
from a place of like
and
rage or revenge.
And the best is that we do know what is the kid going through first before meeting out the punishment itself from there. All right. So I want to hear from all of you with regards to
Hey, what about you?
Oh, me, before I say,
Yes.
okay, I feel that it is, ironically, I feel that it's a TakChek thing for today.
Oh, okay.
Because we have kids that are going to go to primary school. I mean, you have kids in primary school.
Yes.
All right. So as they passage through the system, I'm not going to applaud creative way for punishing a student, but I want to look more into engaging a student and making this more preventive
Rather than
reactive,
reactive, right?
Yeah. I don't want this to be more of like I don't want it to be like a prophylactic thing whereby you cure it at that moment. I want to prevent this from happening in the first place. But I think kids are also evolving. The schools are also evolving. But sometimes it's like an arm race. All right, can the school evolve fast enough to understand what the kid is actually feeling? All right, so it's pretty interesting. And for me, at least, I just hope that punishments are done in your words mindfully. All right, so for the listeners out there, the parents or the students, if you have experiences in how punishment has been done, or a little bit unfortunate, you have punishment that your kids has been meted out to, and you have any strong sentiments, we'll be keen to hear from you whether do you think that the punishment was actually appropriate or it was actually going beyond what we consider as appropriate. Okay. All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.